you graduated from high school and then went on to the School of American Ballet and then became, shortly after that, an apprentice with the Miami City Ballet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so there's this time after high school when it seems to be a very tough time for young dancers. They have to decide if they're going to choose between a career or college. I think in your case, you had the career and then went back to college. Is that correct?
I have not yet gone back to college. I hope to
Okay.
do so one day in the near future. But yes, that's a very difficult decision that a young dancer has to make. There comes a time when, the auditions for the professional spots in companies are happening, and it's just about the same time that you're needing to send out those college applications. And, it seemed, at least for me, it seemed if I were to take that leap and go into the college scenario, I would miss my window of opportunity to become a professional dancer. And I wasn't willing to give that up. I happened to be lucky. I graduated high school a year early. So I was able to convince my parents to give me a year to try and, go for it and become a professional. And if it didn't work out, then I promised them that I would go ahead and go to college and I would be just the same age as everybody else. I wasn't missing out on anything. Now we're talking almost 20 years ago that this was happening. Nowadays, kids are much luckier because they have the internet. So you can easily do college courses online. They don't need to miss anything. They can still go ahead and do their auditions or get their apprenticeships, go ahead and go for their first job. And if they so choose, they can do their college courses online in their spare time, or even, find a school that will work around the company schedule, which is the case with several schools in New York that I know work with the dancers at American Ballet Theater and New York City Ballet. San Francisco has another program very similar with one of the universities there. There are so many different options right now that kids don't have to make that very, very tough decision the way that I did years back. But it is a tough time when you really, take a step back and think, which avenue do I want to go down?
Let's take a look at the competitive side of the ballet, particularly for young dancers. Should they compete? Should they go for the gold? Can you have a career without entering competitions?
That's another very individual decision. You can absolutely, positively have a career without having ever competed. I never competed in a competition, and I had a wonderful career. There are benefits to going ahead and competing if you have the right frame of mind to handle it. You need to, I think, be very prepared mentally, almost more so mentally than physically, to go into that sort of atmosphere. Because the competition is so steep, you really need to be very secure in yourself and in your own dancing, and know that when you go there, the main objective is to go into it as a learning experience, to see other kids at your same level, where they are. Do you need to improve on certain things? What does maybe this girl have that you could learn from, and improve that way? You can't go into it ready to knock yourself down. You can't go into it thinking, if I don't get a medal, I'm not good enough. That's not what it's about. It really isn't. It's not the Olympics. You're not going to miss out on any job opportunities because you didn't get a medal. Quite the opposite. There are so many directors there from both companies and schools that are watching your performance, and whether you get a medal or not, you may end up with a scholarship somewhere. You may end up with an apprenticeship somewhere. So there are benefits to going, but only if you have the right frame of mind, and only if you think you can handle the sort of stressful environment that you'll be surrounded by.
Stress and burnout are the less beautiful side of the ballet, along with eating disorders and sexual harassment. Would you talk about that? Because I've never seen that addressed anywhere.
Well, it's sort of taboo, and nobody really wants to look them straight in the face, but they do exist, unfortunately. And I think the only way to sort of start wiping them out is to address them and to be honest about them. There is so much stress put on us, especially as young pre-professionals in the later teenage years. You're constantly comparing yourself to your teens, and so peer pressure becomes a big issue to battle, and that's where the eating disorders come in. You're constantly comparing your body image to the girl next to you, and who is skinnier, who ate what for breakfast, especially in a dormitory. That's where I started feeling that sort of pressure when I was in the dormitory at the School of American Ballet. Everybody's looking over to see what the girl next to them has on their lunch plate, and at the end of the day, you need to remember everyone's different. Everyone needs a certain, a different amount of calories to get them through the day, depending on their body type, their height, their structure, their weight. Everyone is individual, and we are athletes, and we need a certain amount of fuel to keep us going throughout the day. We can't perform otherwise. We get injured. We just can't sustain the amount of physical activity that is required of us. So it's very important. It's very important. And if you don't know what is best to eat for your body, please go see a doctor, see a nutritionist, talk to somebody who can sort of help you map out what would be the best way to keep that ballerina body image, but also stay healthy. Then we get into sexual harassment, which can easily be prevented. I suggest to my students or people that ask me that the parents, again, be very involved and very aware. Know your child's teacher, know the studio environment, be there, be present, because when you're there, bad things are not going to happen. If the studio doors are open, if there are windows, if there are people around, bad things won't happen. Do you know what I mean? And your child needs to have a sense of pride and self-worth and know that they're better than that. They don't need to stoop to anything to get higher. Their work will get them higher where they need to be. That's all that's required of them.
I was fascinated that you wrote about the movie Black Swan, and many people think it's a movie about ballet competition, but you saw it as a movie about abuse of a dancer by her director. How could she have avoided that?
Again, I feel she could have avoided it if she had a stronger sense of self-worth, of confidence. If she would have believed that working hard would have gotten her the part and not succumbing to the advances of the director or not succumbing to the peer pressure around her, not allowing herself to take in all of the abusive comments that were coming from her peers. Now, again, that movie was ultra exaggerated. I've never experienced anything, to that extreme. That was sort of every bad stereotype, all kind of compiled into one, and that's just not very realistic. But, we do encounter those things here and there every once in a while, and you just need to be secure in yourself and have the confidence and the power to separate yourself from it.
Well, you said the goal of your book was to be the big sister and give the advice. You also have a blog. What is the address of your blog?
It's www.ballerina2, and that's the number 2, the point, POINTE.com.
And again, that has issues and advice. And if you're really in the world of ballet, I recommend it. I also recommend the book, which I thought was fascinating. But thank you very much, Jennefer Kronenberg, author of So You Want to Be a Ballerina. I'm Elaine Viets, and you're listening to The Dead End Job Show.